It started with an extra toothbrush. Not a receipt. Not a text message. Not even lipstick on a collar. Just an extra toothbrush in our upstairs bathroom, green handle, soft bristles, wedged behind the mouthwash like it had been tucked away on purpose. We already had two, hers pink and mine blue, and we never hosted overnight guests. Ever. Whose is this? I asked casually, holding it up that evening while she chopped onions in the kitchen. Renee glanced at it, then went right back to her chopping. Oh, that? Must be my sister's. She visited a couple weeks ago, remember? I did. But Renee's sister lived 3 hours away and stayed at a hotel when she came. She was allergic to our dog, Moose, and couldn't sleep over without waking up gasping for air. It didn't add up. But I let it go. Just a toothbrush, I told myself. I was overthinking again. Like always. Still, that night, when Renee rolled away from me in bed like she had for the last 6 months, a little thought whispered in the back of my mind. Why did that feel like a lie? We've been married for 8 years. 2 kids. A 4-bedroom home in the suburbs of Boise, Idaho. White picket fence and all that. I work in logistics for a construction company, and Renee is a pediatric nurse, always bouncing between night shifts and weekend doubles. Or so she says. The days felt mechanical. We woke up, got the kids dressed, Emma, age 6, and Levi, age 4. She'd kiss them on the forehead, sometimes me too, then head off to work. I'd take them to daycare, go to the office, come back, cook, clean, bathe them, and collapse on the couch. That was life. Predictable. Quiet. Lonely. It wasn't always like that. Renee used to be affectionate, warm, quick to laugh. We used to make pancakes on Sundays and wrestle in the sheets like teenagers. But something shifted around a year ago. She stopped meeting my eyes. She started locking her phone. She started buying new lingerie but never wore it for me. Still, I blamed myself. I was working too much. I'd put on some weight. Maybe I'd lost the spark. That's what good husbands do, right? Look inward. Improve. Fix it. So I tried. I planned a surprise date night. Got my mom to babysit. Took her to her favorite Italian place, the one with the candles and wine bottles, and the accordion guy who walks around playing love songs. She barely touched her lasagna. I asked if everything was okay. She sighed. We're just in a rut, Noah. It's not you. I just feel tired. All the time. Tired. That word clung to her like perfume. It was the answer to everything. Tired from work. Tired from parenting. Tired from talking. But 2 nights later, I saw her coming in at 1:42 a.m. She didn't see me. I was in the downstairs bathroom, getting Levi's humidifier ready. Through the cracked door, I watched her slip in, heels in her hand, hair tousled, lipstick smeared. She didn't look tired at all. I didn't confront her. Not right away. I did what I always do, rationalize. Maybe she went out with coworkers. Maybe she was venting stress. Maybe I should be grateful she still came home at all. But something had changed in me that night. I started watching. I tracked the mileage on her car. I noted the gas charges on our joint account. I asked the kids what Mommy said she did when Daddy wasn't around. Emma, sweet as ever, said, Mommy goes to her second work. The place with the fish tank. Weird. The hospital didn't have a fish tank. Then came the dinner. Renee texted me on a Wednesday, *, don't make dinner tonight. I invited someone over. Want to show we can be civilized. *. Civilized? That word sat wrong. Still, I cleaned the house, made my famous brisket, and even set out the good plates. I wore a collared shirt. When the doorbell rang, Renee was already at the door, beaming. Look, she said with that high-pitched lilt she used when she was overly excited. You made it. A tall man stepped inside. Square jaw, expensive coat, too much cologne. He looked like a man used to being the center of attention. She didn't introduce us. Hi, I said, offering a hand. Noah. He shook it. Luke. Good to meet you, man. Man. Not, nice to meet you. Just, man. Like I was some guy she lived with, not her husband. Dinner was unbearable. She sat beside him. Not across. She laughed too hard at his stories. She poured him wine before refilling mine. Every time he spoke, her eyes lit up like I hadn't seen in years. I watched. I counted. 5 touches. 2 on the arm. 1 on the knee. 1 on his back when she stood up to grab dessert. 1 brushing a crumb off his lip. She never touched me once. When Luke finally left, I stood by the door like a sentry. He winked at me. Winked. As if we shared a secret. She closed the door behind him and turned to me, still smiling. Well, he's nice, right? Who is he? I asked. A friend. From the gym. We talk sometimes. At the gym. Yes, Noah. Where else? Little thought. Is that where the fish tank is? I said nothing. Just nodded. Took a breath. Said I was going to bed early. I didn't sleep. I sat on the back porch with a beer in my hand, staring into the dark, listening to Renee hum in the kitchen while she texted. Her phone buzzed every few seconds. The next morning, Luke's toothbrush was in our bathroom. It's funny how betrayal doesn't come all at once. It's not a stab. It's a leak. A slow drip 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 that wears a hole in your gut until you're hollowed out. I started talking to a divorce lawyer in secret. Just exploring options, he said. No pressure. I asked about custody, assets, the house. He asked if I had proof. That night, I installed a hidden camera in the living room. 3 days later, while I was at work, Luke came over. They didn't even make it to the couch. He kissed her in the doorway. She led him upstairs. They were up there for an hour. My kids were at daycare. I sat in my car that night, outside the gym with the fish tank. I watched Luke exit through the back entrance, Renee slipping out minutes later. They didn't touch. Not in public. But they walked to separate cars parked beside each other. She drove home. I waited 5 minutes, then followed. She didn't see me. That night, I confronted her. I know about Luke. Her face didn't even twitch. What about him? I know what's going on. I saw the camera. Now her expression changed. Just slightly. A twitch at the mouth. The muscles in her neck tightening. You violated my privacy, she said coldly. That was her angle, not shame. Not remorse. Outrage. You brought him into our home, Renee. Because you don't make me feel wanted anymore, she snapped. You're just a dad now. A background character in your own life. I work. I clean. I raise our kids. And you're still boring, she said. Silence. Then she smiled. I'll tell you what. You can leave. But you'll lose the kids. I'll make sure of it. Remember that DUI? The one from 10 years ago? I still have the paperwork. And those therapy sessions you took after your dad died. I bet the court would love to hear about your mental health struggles. Hell, I might even say you hit me. Who would believe otherwise? I stared at her. My mouth went dry. You wouldn't. Her smile widened. Try me. And that's when I knew. This wasn't just cheating. This wasn't heartbreak. This was something else entirely. She didn't just betray me. She planned this. The toothbrush. The late nights. The gaslighting. All of it. Renee wasn't tired. She wasn't confused. She was evil. Calculating. A predator who fed on trust. And now she was threatening to take everything from me. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't eat the next day. But I did call my lawyer. I want to do whatever it takes, I told him. And I want to win. He said, then you better start digging, Noah. Because if she's willing to go this far, you're going to need ammunition. He was right. I had no idea then what I would uncover. But let's just say this. The toothbrush was just the beginning. I started with her phone bill. Renee never used to care about her phone locks. She left her statements in the junk drawer for months, back when we still trusted each other. I found 3 of them buried under expired coupons and unopened mail. All I had to do was look at the numbers she texted the most. One number kept coming up, a 208 area code that didn't match her contacts list. I punched it into a reverse lookup site. Not registered to Luke. Registered to a burner phone under the name Patricia Langford. Fake. A decoy. Someone had gone to a lot of trouble to stay hidden. And that made me curious. I ran the number through another site that flagged suspicious activity. Dating profiles, online ads, Craigslist listings. One ping caught my eye. A photo linked to a profile under the name Valentina, a woman offering exclusive companionship and discreet services. It was Renee. The photo was cropped, filtered, and dim, but it was her. I recognized the freckle on her shoulder. Her wedding band was edited out. I didn't know what stunned me more, the fact that she had a secret life, or how meticulously she'd kept it hidden. The next few days were strange. Renee acted like nothing had happened. Like I hadn't caught her with another man. Like she hadn't threatened to destroy me. She made waffles. She wore a sundress. She kissed me on the cheek before work. That kiss burned like acid. I was trying to function, holding Levi's hand at daycare drop-off, answering emails at work, picking up groceries, but inside I was unraveling. I didn't just want answers anymore. I wanted to understand what I had been living next to, sleeping next to, who this woman really was. That weekend, I found the first stash. It was in the garage, behind the wall panels. A duffel bag filled with designer clothes, cash, almost $6,000 in crisp bills, and a second phone. It was locked, but I didn't need to crack it to know what it meant. Renee had a go-bag. My wife was prepared to disappear. I brought it up Sunday night. She was sitting on the couch watching one of those mindless dating shows she claimed to hate. I walked in holding the bag. She didn't even blink. Where'd you find that? Behind the insulation, near the water heater. A slow smile curled across her lips. Guess I forgot about that one. You planning to leave? No, Noah. I plan to survive. In case you ever snapped. That was her story. I was the threat, not her. You've been hiding money, phones, seeing other men. She shrugged. And what have you done, Noah? You snoop. You spy. You plant cameras in your own home. Who's the crazy one? That moment, her tone, her smirk, something inside me shifted. She wasn't going to stop. She wasn't going to feel bad. She wasn't going to tell the truth. Renee had built an entire ecosystem of lies, and I had only seen the topsoil. I needed to dig deeper. I tracked her one night, told her I was going to my brother's to help fix his deck, left through the front door, came back around, parked 2 blocks over, and waited. At 9:47 p.m., she left the house. She wasn't in scrubs. She wore a black dress, high heels, red lipstick, the same red she wore the night she met my parents. She got into her car and drove. I followed. We ended up at the Edgewood Suites, a cheap motel off the interstate, next to a closed-down diner. She parked in the back. I watched her knock on room 6. The door opened. It wasn't Luke. It was a man in his 60s, bald, heavy, wearing a robe. She walked inside without hesitation. The door shut. I sat there in silence, watching the neon vacancy sign flicker, the cold realization soaking through me. This wasn't just an affair. Renee was selling herself. The next morning, she came home with a coffee in hand like nothing happened. She kissed Levi's head. She laughed with Emma over cereal. She didn't see me standing at the top of the stairs, staring down at her like she was a stranger who had broken into our lives. A little thought. How long has this been going on? I started documenting everything. Receipts, dates, camera footage. I set up cloud backups. I photographed the duffel bag, the cash, the burner phone. I printed every log from her fake profile. I stopped confronting. I started collecting. It felt like being a ghost in my own home, but it gave me power. I watched her lie, over and over, about where she was going, about picking up an extra shift, about her friend, Megan, who didn't exist. I nodded. I smiled. I played the part, because I had a plan. Then one day, I noticed something strange. Emma's piggy bank was missing. I asked her about it. She said, Mommy needed the coins for the car wash. I checked the bank statements. There was a $300 withdrawal from an ATM a few blocks from the motel. The same night, she claimed to be on shift. She was taking from our kids. One night, I heard Emma crying. I found her curled in her bed, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Did Mommy yell at you? I asked. She shook her head. She said I was too loud, that I was ruining her phone call. What phone call? I didn't know. She was in the bathroom. She locked the door. That was the moment I knew. She wasn't just cheating. She was an abuser. I brought it all to my lawyer. He looked over the files, flipping through printed screenshots and photographs. You've got enough, he said. If you want to file, you'll have leverage, custody, assets, restraining orders, even. I stared at the manila folder in his hands. She could have stopped. She didn't. She could have apologized. She never even tried. That night, I printed one more set of copies. I hid them in the attic, sealed in a waterproof bag, labeled in case. I wasn't being paranoid. I was being prepared. Then something happened I didn't expect. Renee's mom called. We hadn't spoken in almost a year. She asked if I'd seen her antique bracelet, an heirloom, gone missing after her last visit. I checked Renee's jewelry box. It was there, stuffed in a sock. She stole from her own mother. I put it back. Said nothing. But it changed something. This wasn't just about betrayal or sex, or even emotional manipulation. Renee was rotting from the inside out. And if I didn't protect my kids, she'd pull them down with her. The second twist came 2 days later. A voicemail, left on my burner phone, the one I'd bought to keep contact with my lawyer. Noah, the voice said, low and rushed. This is Devin. We met once, years ago, at Renee's work party. I don't know how to say this, but I saw your wife at a pharmacy downtown. She bought fentanyl patches. I work there. I could not say something. I think she's using, or selling, or worse. The floor dropped out from under me. I checked our accounts. Cash withdrawals, pharmacy receipts, prescription pads in her bag. She was involved in something darker than I imagined. And I was sitting on a powder keg. I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, counting the seconds between each breath. Then I heard her get up. It was 3:13 a.m. She walked down the stairs. I followed in silence, stopping halfway. She opened the front door. A man stepped inside. Not Luke. Not the old man from the motel. Someone new. She led him to the basement. The door closed. I sat on the stairs, shaking. This was not my wife. This was something else entirely. I didn't move. I sat on the stairs, frozen. The basement door shut behind Renee, and the stranger like it was sealing off another universe, one I never knew existed under my own roof. For 15 minutes, nothing. No voices, no footsteps. Just the low hum of the furnace and the occasional creak of the house settling. I was too scared to open the door, too angry to walk away. So I waited. When the man finally came back up, he didn't use the front door. He slipped out the back. Renee followed him to the edge of the porch, didn't even kiss him goodbye, just handed him a brown paper bag and waved. She stood there after he left, sipping something from a mug, looking out into the dark like she hadn't just escorted a mystery man through the shadows. The next morning, I searched the basement. She'd cleaned it. Too well. Like she was expecting me to snoop. Everything was tidy, dusted, and empty. Except one box. It was behind the old water jugs. Inside, surgical gloves, test tubes, and a small burner. There were labels on some of the vials. One caught my eye: midazolam, a sedative. I took pictures, sealed the box again. Didn't touch anything else. Whatever she was doing, it wasn't just immoral. It was criminal. That night, I finally broke. I called my brother Matt. Told him everything. I needed someone who could keep a secret and wouldn't judge me. Jesus, Noah, he whispered after I finished. You're living with a sociopath. I think she's involved in something dangerous. You need to get out. I can't. Not without the kids. Matt was quiet. Then he said something I didn't expect. There's a private investigator. Friend of mine used him during his custody battle. Quiet, off the grid, smart as hell. Want his number? I did. The PI's name was Brandt. Middle-aged, calm voice, asked a lot of questions. We met in an empty warehouse he used as an office, surrounded by filing cabinets and surveillance monitors. After I laid everything out, he leaned back and nodded slowly. She's methodical, but not as smart as she thinks she is. He agreed to follow her. Placed discreet cameras near the motel, at the pharmacy, even a tracker on her car. You're gonna need more than just proof of cheating, he told me. You're gonna need a story that no judge can ignore. He was right. I had no idea what he'd find. Meanwhile, Renee started acting sweeter. She cooked, wore makeup, watched movies with me on the couch. It felt fake, like a script she'd rehearsed. One night, she brought out wine and suggested we talk. I braced myself. I know things have been tense, she said, curling her legs beneath her. But I've been thinking a lot. Maybe we just need a break. Some time apart to clear our heads. I could take the kids to my sister's for a week or two. That's when I realized what she was doing. She wasn't trying to save the marriage. She was trying to remove the kids. Separate them from me. Get them alone, out of state. Maybe disappear altogether. I smiled. That sounds like a good idea. Let me help you pack. That threw her off. Her eyes narrowed just slightly. Really? Sure. Whatever it takes to make you happy. She didn't trust the ease. But she nodded. And I spent the next 3 days preparing. Only I wasn't packing. I was gathering. Consolidating everything for the PI. Brandt called me on the 4th day. You need to see this, he said. He sent me footage. Renee, at the back of the Edgewood Suites, talking to a man in a green hoodie, then handing off a plastic bag. He opened it, pulled out a bottle of pills. That's Oxy, Brandt confirmed. She's selling prescription meds. My guess? She's been skimming from the hospital or forging prescriptions. Worse, he added, she's been meeting him in public parks, near schools. The next night, I found Emma asleep in our bed. Renee was gone. No note. Emma stirred as I tucked her in. Daddy, she mumbled. Mommy said I can't tell you things. What kind of things? Like when she takes me in the car. To the other house. My heart stopped. What other house? She was already asleep. I messaged Brandt. He found it the next day. A trailer on the edge of town, rented under a fake name. Inside, a mattress on the floor, toiletries, an old TV, snacks. A stash house. A fallback. I took it all to my lawyer. He said, you have enough for a restraining order. You can get temporary custody, maybe even supervised visitation. I stared at the evidence. Every part of me wanted to scream, cry, run. But I had to wait. Just a little longer. Because Renee was planning something. And I needed to know what it was. The next twist came in the form of a knock. A social worker. Unscheduled. Mr. Porter? She asked. Yes. We received a report of domestic instability. Anonymous. Allegations of alcohol abuse. Potential violence in the home. I froze. She looked past me, saw Emma coloring at the kitchen table. Mind if I come in? I didn't, because I had nothing to hide. After 30 minutes of questions, she left. Gently, professionally. But the message was clear. Renee had reported me. She was trying to build a case. That night, I searched every drawer, every cabinet, every corner of the house. And in the ceiling vent of the master closet, I found a voice recorder. Still running. She was recording our conversations. I didn't confront her. I didn't panic. I removed the batteries, placed it back, and added a sticky note. Nice try. I slept on the couch that night. Renee never said a word. She knew I knew. Neither of us spoke. Not really. We just moved around each other like pieces on a board, waiting for someone to make the final move. And I was ready. I filed the paperwork on a Tuesday. Emergency motion for full custody, supervised visitation, and an injunction to block Renee from removing the children from the state. It took my lawyer 5 minutes to file. It took me 5 years of marriage to admit it was the only way forward. Renee still didn't know what was coming. The judge scheduled a hearing for the following Monday. That gave me 6 days. 6 days to prepare. 6 days to keep calm. 6 days to live under the same roof as someone who had stolen, lied, and threatened my kid's future with a smile. She must have sensed something was off. She'd started checking the mail obsessively, asking where I was going every time I left the house, acting like she suddenly cared again. It was all performative. One night, I walked into the kitchen to find her crying at the sink. Real tears this time. What's wrong? I asked, keeping my voice flat. She turned around slowly. I don't know who we are anymore. That almost made me laugh. But I stayed silent. She wiped her eyes. I've made mistakes, Noah. I know that. But this, distance. I can't take it. We used to be best friends. You used to be human, I thought. Maybe we could try counseling, she offered. For the kids, at least. There it was again. The act. Sure, I said, just to see how far she'd take the lie. She looked relieved. Really? Why not? She smiled, kissed my cheek. I'll look into someone. I watched her walk away and whispered under my breath. Tick-tock. Friday morning, she left early. Claimed she had a double shift. I got the kids ready for school, packed lunches, checked Emma's homework, tied Levi's shoes. My mom picked them up so I could meet with my lawyer again and prep for the hearing. Brant, the PI, had sent over final documents, testimonies from 2 men who'd interacted with Renee through her side operation. One of them, a former client, had come forward after getting arrested himself. Flipped to avoid jail time. His statement was damning. Dates, locations, even text exchanges. She gave me pills in exchange for cash. Said her husband was too boring. She wanted to feel powerful. I couldn't even feel angry at that point. I felt numb. My lawyer was pleased. This is strong, Noah. Very strong. What are my chances? If the judge believes even half of this, you'll get full custody. That night, I let the kids fall asleep in my bed. They curled into me like puzzle pieces, completely unaware that the world around them was about to split in half. I stayed awake until 3 a.m. just listening to them breathe. Saturday morning, Renee returned. She looked exhausted, but not from work. Her eyes were bloodshot. Her hands were shaking slightly. Maybe more frequent now. Maybe the walls were closing in. She walked past me without a word and went straight to the shower. I noticed her bag was missing. Odd. Then I saw the door to my office was ajar. My heart dropped. I rushed in. My desk had been rifled through. Drawers open. My filing cabinet unlocked. She had been searching for something. I checked the hidden folder I kept behind the bookcase. The thumb drive was gone. I played it cool. Let the day go on as if nothing happened. Took the kids to the park. Made grilled cheese for dinner. Read bedtime stories. At 11:45 p.m., Renee came into the living room, holding the thumb drive. Lose something? She asked. I didn't answer. She smiled. I know everything on here. You've been building a case against me. I stood slowly. Give it back. Why would I do that? Because if you don't, I'll have a subpoena for your work records, phone logs, and pharmacy pulls on the judge's desk by morning. Her face twitched. You think I haven't covered my tracks? She hissed. You think I don't know how to play the game? You used to. But you're sloppy now. And I'm not afraid of you anymore. She stepped closer. I'll tell them you hit me. I'll tell them you hurt Levi when you were angry. You ever think about that? I've got cameras. Witnesses. Evidence. She stared at me for a long moment. Then she threw the drive into the fireplace. The flames swallowed it in seconds. I didn't move. Just nodded slowly. I made copies. Her face turned pale. Sunday morning, she was gone. No note. No text. Just vanished. I spent the day on edge. Called Brant. Asked him to track her car. By noon, he had her location. A rural cabin outside of town, rented under yet another fake name. She'd pulled the kids out before. Maybe she'd try it again. That night, I sat outside her stash house for 2 hours. Just to be sure. At 2 a.m., she returned. Not alone. She was with a man I'd never seen before. Younger. Maybe early 30s. They laughed, shared something from a bottle, then disappeared inside. Brant got it all on camera. Monday morning came. Court day. I dressed in my best suit. Dropped the kids off at my mom's. Walked into the courthouse like a man entering a storm he had no choice but to survive. Renee was already there. Wearing white. A calculated move. She didn't look at me. Inside, the judge listened quietly as both sides presented. My lawyer was methodical. Calm. Showed every file, every image, every testimony. Then it was her turn. She wept. Told the judge I was controlling. That I was jealous. That I was trying to destroy her because she wanted independence. My husband spies on me, she said. He planted cameras. Stole my passwords. He's unwell. Her lawyer handed over a few screenshots. Out of context. Old. But the judge wasn't buying it. He leaned forward. Ms. Porter, can you explain why two men, unrelated to each other, provided identical statements about your activities involving controlled substances? She blinked. Why you rented a secondary residence without disclosing it to your husband or to your employer? She didn't answer. The judge glanced at her lawyer. I'm granting temporary full custody to Mr. Porter. Supervised visitation for Ms. Porter. She is not to remove the children from the county under any circumstances. Renee gasped. I didn't. Because I'd already made peace with what was coming. The judge continued. I'm also referring this matter to Family Services and requesting a formal investigation into Ms. Porter's conduct both at home and at her place of employment. Court adjourned. The gavel hit. The moment the custody ruling hit, she spiraled. It was almost imperceptible at first, like the way a hairline crack forms in a window. You don't notice it until sunlight catches it just right. Until it's too late, and the whole thing shatters. The day she came for her first supervised visit, she didn't look like Renee. Not the Renee I'd known. Not the woman who used to color coordinate the kids' outfits and match her lipstick to her heels. Not the Renee who could turn heads at the grocery store with a glance and a smirk. This Renee was faded. Her blonde hair hung limp around her face. Roots dark and unapologetic. Her skin, usually glowing with bronzer and control, was pale, too pale, almost waxen. Her eyes were glassy, unfocused, as if she were walking underwater. She wore a sweatshirt 2 sizes too big. No jewelry. Not even her wedding ring, which she'd insisted on wearing long after the divorce was finalized, as if it still gave her some kind of leverage. She smiled when she saw the kids, but it didn't reach her eyes. It barely even moved her lips. It was a performative thing, a shadow of a reflex. Her hands trembled when she reached down to pick up Levi's favorite toy truck from the floor. She held it out to him like a peace offering. He took it, hesitated, then backed up a little. I could see the flicker of confusion on his face. Kids don't always understand pain, but they recognize when something's off. And Renee was off. Way off. Emma, always the more perceptive of the two, clung to the counselor's leg. Renee tried to speak. I saw her mouth move, form the beginning of Levi's name. Look, but then she stopped. Like it hurt. Like even saying his name made something inside her snap. The room was small, sterile. It smelled faintly of lemon cleaner and old crayons. The counselor sat in the corner with a clipboard, silently observing, writing things down in that careful, deliberate way that professionals do when they don't want to get emotionally involved. I stood behind the two-way mirror, heart pounding like a drum. Watching her was like witnessing a slow-motion collapse. There was no explosion, no breakdown, just a quiet erosion, one breath at a time. Renee sat cross-legged on the rug. She picked up a plastic fire truck and made a soft VRRM noise. Levi glanced at her but didn't move. Emma stayed close to the counselor. Renee made another sound, a weak imitation of a siren. She was trying. I'll give her that. But it was hollow. Everything about her felt rehearsed. Fragile. 10 minutes in, she finally looked at Emma. Their eyes met for half a second, and then Emma turned away. That did something to Renee. I saw it. She blinked, and when her eyes opened again, there was something raw in them. Something close to grief. Her hand went to her phone. She checked it once. Then again. Then she scrolled aimlessly, like muscle memory had taken over. Her thumb moved mechanically. Notifications, messages, maybe a missed call. I wondered if she was waiting for someone, for anyone, to rescue her from this moment. The counselor cleared her throat gently. Renee looked up, startled, like she'd forgotten where she was. I think I'm done, she said. Her voice cracked, and she stood up too fast, brushing invisible lint off her jeans. I don't feel well. The counselor didn't argue, just made another note. Renee didn't even kiss the kids goodbye. She walked out of the room without looking back. Her shoes made no sound on the linoleum. For a second, I thought she might turn around, say something, anything, but she didn't. I watched her leave, and I didn't stop her. I didn't say a word.